All right. I don't even know what episode we're on, but here we are.
Yes.
The V-eekly Mand-ate. Go for it.
So this week I attended the Local Progress Conference, and it was absolutely incredible. There was a big public safety focus in a lot of the plenaries and speeches, and then some of the sessions that I attended. We heard from Mayor of Baltimore, who was incredibly inspiring. And one of the things that he talked about was how the mayor who was in office right before him had taken a really zero tolerance approach to crime, and that they had really increased the number of officers that they had in the streets, and ended up actually arresting about a sixth of their population over the course of a year. They said they had 100,000 arrests, and it was 287 homicides the year before Mayor Johnson took office. And he has turned that approach around. They're using a trauma-informed city approach, which I'll talk a little bit more about here soon. But they last year, so again, I said 287 homicides the year that they arrested 100,000 people. Last year, they arrested less than 20,000 people, and their homicides went down to 133. So they're simultaneously seeing extreme decreases in both arrests and in violent crime.
Do you remember how long the duration was between those two? Like, how long has he been in office?
I think he's been for, I'm not entirely sure. I think more than one full term. So it's been a couple of years, I believe, at least.
But it takes time to get those off the ground, but that's incredible.
Yeah, really, really inspiring. We also toured the Pennsylvania Avenue Public Library, and one of the things that they've done with the city is to create a trauma-informed task force. And as part of that trauma-informed task force, they have peer navigators embedded in 13 sites. They started with this one library, and it has grown and expanded. And these peer navigators help people access resources. They serve as responders, kind of somewhat similar to some of the field mediation work that we're looking to get off the ground here. But one of the things that was really incredible was they said that recently they had a bad batch of something come through the community, and there were 26 overdoses in the community. And those peer navigators were the first responders to those overdoses, and there were 0 deaths at all.
Amazing.
So Baltimore's doing just a lot of really amazing work in regards to public safety that I'm definitely going to be continuing to keep my eye on and continue to stay in touch with the elected leaders there that are running some of that.
Yeah, that sounds like some policies and programs that we could utilize for sure. That's great. So glad you came back and are sharing that with us.
Very excited. And then on to our field mediation work. We are having our field mediation consultants with Dignity Best Practices do that site visit we've been talking about. We're going to have 2 public events for folks that want to meet the consultants and learn more about the project. I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Imagine V will be there. We'll have also some of the actual responders themselves from community at these events. There will be one at the North Liberty Library on July 29th from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. And then one at the Hills Community Center on July 30th from 6 to 7 p.m. Last time they were here, we did a public event at the Iowa City Public Library. So we're just trying to make sure that we reach our other communities here within Johnson County as well.
And it's a great opportunity to ask all the questions. You know, what is field mediation? What would that look like for our community? So I hope that folks do come out, and of course, we will be there.
Absolutely. They'll also be doing a couple of other things that are, not so open to the public, but just some relationship building and planning. They'll be meeting with other public safety partners and also some youth service organizations as well.
Yeah, fantastic. We also have coming up next week, in terms of environmental resilience and sustainability updates, we will have a meeting, a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors and the Planning and Zoning Commission that will be discussing data centers, and our Planning and Development and Sustainability Department will bring forth basically a recommended ordinance, and so we'll be discussing that. I have been, and I do believe that we've talked quite a bit about making sure that we get public input, and so I imagine after this is when we'll start looking at how do we get information out to the community and also hear from folks. I also did hear from Nancy Bird with our why am I just blanking on there? Greater IC Incorporated, basically our business chamber for the corridor, and they've also done quite a bit of listening and input from the business community, and so I think that there's a joint entities meeting next Monday. We're going to be kind of just getting back from our NACO conference, but
well, I will still be gone.
Oh yeah, that's right. You are jet setting. Mandy's just doing all the conferences. So thank you for your service. And so we will both be unable to attend, but Nancy Bird has asked if they can have a little bit of time to talk about what they've been hearing from the business community. And so I look forward to tuning in at some point to listen to that. But it's just great to hear, that it's not just the county that this is going to impact, and it certainly shouldn't just be like kind of a top down. We're fortunate that we have, a plethora of nonprofits and organizations that have their ear to the ground too. So I look forward to hearing what the business community is also thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that will be again next Wednesday, the 23rd of July at 5:30 p.m. And that is in our Health and Human Services building. And that's where we'll have the joint meeting with Planning and Zoning and our board. So tune into that if you can. And then we have government accessibility and inclusivity constituent chats. It looks like you have one before we leave.
Yeah. Tomorrow I will be at Sidekick Coffee and Books. And that will be... Sorry, I will be there at 11:30, from about 11:30 to 12:30. I'd love to see folks there.
Yeah. I normally have my Friday chats. I obviously won't be here. We will be at our National Association of Counties meeting in New Orleans, and there's quite a bit that we are looking at. I mean, everything from opioid uses and learning from other communities all the way to mid-sized counties and sustainability, data centers, all of the things. Plenary sessions have been pretty remarkable to, at least hopefully they'll deliver, but we'll certainly report back.
To clarify, V meant uses of opioid settlement funds. That's money that we have received.
Shorthand in my head.
Yeah, money we've received from court cases that we are able to use as a government entity to address opioid issues in our community.
Yes.
And a lot of different communities have been using those dollars in a lot of different ways. It's part of how we funded the vending machines that are now available throughout our community that offer free Narcan, as well as sexual health supplies, gun locks, and those other kinds of things.
Yeah, and we've also had an RFP process to reach other organizations and help with, some opioid deterrence and health impacts there. And then also some of it is going to GuideLink to cover some of the opioid prevention or stabilization there.
Yeah.
So yes, opioid uses. We have, did you want to talk about the convergence workshop? Is that?
Oh, co-governance. Yes. So just, kind of related to government accessibility and inclusivity. One of the workshops that I attended at Local Progress was a co-governance workshop, and really gave a lot of more formal methods through which leaders can bring the community into the decisions that they're making. And that's something that, has been a big priority of mine in office the entire time. And so learning some more structured ways to go about that was really interesting. And it's something that I plan to be engaging in here pretty soon. So
I'm excited. We also have the Transgender Advisory Committee tonight at 6 p.m. at Sacred Collective, which is over on the north side, across from Oasis. And so we'll be attending that.
And that is a meeting that is open to, it's an ad hoc committee of the board. It's open to anyone in the community who wants to help find things to advise the board on that can help improve quality of life for transgender folks in our community as the state has continued to try to make that more difficult.
To say the least. So we have what happened last week as a category. And so Mandi was out of town, but I attended the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, which is basically it's all of the supervisors plus the sheriff and the county attorney and judge and some of the basically the criminal justice system plus some local organizations like Inside Out Reentry and Community Crisis. We also have 2 appointments that are from the public, one in rural Johnson County and one in urban area of Johnson County. We've been meeting for several years, 2 years at least. And this is where it's not really been acting like the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee in my mind. It's been really just the jail committee. And that's where we've been getting presentations from the consultant on designs. And so last week the week prior, actually, when we had our Wednesday board session, many of you may remember the designs that were presented. We had asked for some further modifications that would identify, what were the input, where did some of the input from organizations actually go to the design of the jail, not just law enforcement input. And then also a smaller footprint was what I thought I had asked for. And then you were asking for the changes in the size of the cells.
I wanted to know what the measurements were on the whole thing. Really, we got a map in our packet last week that had the measurements for the existing blueprint, and then we had a copy of a proposed blueprint that had no measurements. So we weren't able to see, how are we actually improving the living space of people who are living in the jail. And then also I had asked for a kind of itemized list of, if we don't have a $90 million budget for this jail, if we don't decide to spend that much money on it, what are the things that they would recommend removing first?
Needless to say, in my opinion, I don't think we got any of that, which was massively disappointing and very frustrating. I asked a lot of questions in that meeting. It's only supposed to be an hour from 3:30 to 4:30. We ended up going over, and it was, I think, very just disappointing. There a lot of public actually were attending online that were not really able to join the conversation and speak to and have questions answered. But essentially, there were some of the dimensions that were included, and that would be, largely everywhere but the actual jail area where inmates would be. And the way that they managed that was, if you have like the wellness area, for instance, it was like a total of 5,000 square feet, and you had that measurement. When you went over to the jail where people would actually be housed, they put a table to the side, which I just thought was it was just very frustrating because we did not have an understanding of the total square footage. But a table to the side indicated what was required in terms of size and the type, like, is it 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom or 2 cot, one bed or 2 bed, and then what's required and what these are actually designed for. There was still no total in terms of the square footage, which I found very frustrating. But it did get me thinking, what is required by code for a jail? Is a wellness area required by code? Is and these are just questions before everybody, starts getting, frustrated. That is the question now, is like, what is required and what are we looking to build? Because what I was pointing out was we had a 3-bay vehicle space. And now that we have a sense of where it could go, which, as we have pointed out, is not necessarily where it has to go, across the street is our seats building. And we just built a new bay, and we have an upfitter that we are hiring or have hired. And what they did was they took away the 3 bays and made a bigger mechanical area. So the square footage, again, has not changed. It's still 118,000 square feet. I find that incredibly frustrating and disingenuous, honestly. So we've asked them to kind of go back to the drawing board. We were going from 30,000 to 118,000 square feet. What does 50,000 square feet look like? What is 80,000 square feet? What is required? So still a lot of questions. And I think at the end of the meeting, I had asked, if I am at the top, if I am a decision maker to sign off on this moving forward, and I'm not getting my questions answered, then how is it that we're supposed to be having public input sessions starting in August? How is the public going to actually feel like their input is going to be included? Their feedback is actually going to land in this design. I was assured that it would be, and I still fail to see how that is true. So that was a Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. It was quite contentious. If you do watch the video, because it is a recording, it is on our website. If you go to the archives of where our meetings are, there's Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee meeting from last week. You will see a very detailed description and breakdown of the design. So I do encourage people to look at that and to get an understanding of what is being designed and why. And I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm sure Mandi would too, on what was presented. It did catalyze me in coming out and publicly saying, like, I am no longer supporting, not only am I not supporting this, but I will be actively campaigning against this jail. I've had several conversations with the sheriff about this. I have offered to, if you stop this now, can we go back to the drawing board and actually do a community-led process that includes not just an assessment of the needs of the jail, but an assessment of the needs of the community and the criminal justice system with which the jail is a part of. Mm-hmm. So I'm actively having those conversations with the sheriff. They've been respectful and passionate, much like you'll see at the CJCC meeting. If you watch the video, I can definitely get a little hot, but like, I think now is an opportunity. We can still stop this and turn it around. And I think that we'll have, what we're missing right now is community buy-in.
And I really, going back to which we've already talked about, thinking that it's problematic in the first place that that what we got to begin with, was something that was already designed. Even if it is just a template or just a starting point, that shouldn't have been the starting point. And I think about the way that the city of Iowa City did very different types of facilities, but the way the city of Iowa City did the redesign of the park by the library, and the way that the Iowa City did the design of the pool. Yeah. And those were pieces, right? Like it wasn't a design that was originally presented. It was, you could go into these, at the rec center, at the library, wherever these held these events, you could go in and you could say, is this piece, they had it all broken down, is this piece of this facility something that you want? Is this piece something you want? Rank these 5 pieces. And then they put it all together. And
as a planner, it's been very frustrating to have so little public input, because all it does is say that we don't trust you. We don't trust you to know or to take the time or to be interested in this jail. I think that is fundamentally a disservice to our community. I do think people can A, understand what is required and not required by code, and B, have input on the design based on lived experience or not. And that is, I completely agree. You need to have the input from the community, and not just a black box, or, where input goes in and that nothing changes. We need to see the affected design.
It's being paid for by community dollars, and it is a place that community members will be taken. Yep. So it needs to be
100%.
Yeah, it needs to have more community input.
Yeah. So I have laid my cards out to the sheriff. I have offered my services. I have built an entire career on community input and engagement. You have done decades of that yourself with your own organization. We have skills at the top to be able to do this. And we believe in our community. I believe in our community. And I know, I don't want to speak for you, but given our shared values, I know it can be done. I know it can be done. So we shall see how this plays out. So coming up, we have our conference that we're leaving for at 5 a.m. on Wednesday. That'll be fun. And we will report back, all the things that we learned. We'll be in New Orleans, which I've never been. So I'm excited about that. And then we have our radical resistance training coming up next Tuesday when I know you won't be there.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of explain that one a little bit. So when V and I originally planned this training, we were both going to be present. I received a request from Local Progress. I am part of Local Progress's Pride Caucus Leadership Committee. And so they are wanting to send some of the leadership committee to the Equality Federation conference. So rather than coming back with V, we canceled my county funded ticket back here. So the county is no longer paying for my ticket back to Iowa from NACO. Instead, Local Progress will fly me from NACO back to Baltimore for a couple of days for the Equality Federation conference, and then I will be back after that. But I will
to hear what you learned from there too.
Yeah, I will plan to be at future trainings.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, and we do have 3 trainings actually scheduled. So the first one is going to be next Tuesday, the 21st at Iowa City Public Library from 6 to 8 p.m. And our resident question of the week was, what are these trainings? So these trainings are 90 minutes and they're in-person sessions. There will be childcare and food provided. And we'll be learning about organizing techniques and practices such as, how do we find shared values in a one-on-one setting? How do we host gatherings for skill building? Those kinds of things. And then one of the main goals, though, really is to build relationships with our neighbors, because we know that whether or not it's ICE agents in your neighborhood or a derecho, the real first responders are going to be your neighbors. And so all we have really is each other. And it's an opportunity to dig deeper into that. We'll have a neighborhood directory that we'll be building out, which is a lot about things like skill sharing or, how do people want to be contacted and, hopefully getting folks to start talking and gathering. These are based on, I do want to give a nod to Representative Pramila Jayapal. She started these resistance lab trainings online nationally last year when Trump first got into office. And I attended one of those and was really inspired. And we were fortunate to have some of her staff who put that together here in Iowa City. So I'm looking forward to kind of modifying that and making it more our county flavor and our community. So being responsive to that. So there are 3 that are scheduled. So there's that one next week at ICPL from 6 to 8 on Tuesday, and then Monday, August 24th at the Coralville Public Library from 4:30 to 6:30, and then Thursday, September 17th at North Liberty Library. You can see there's a common thread here. 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And again, we will plan on having childcare and food there. And yeah, really looking forward to meeting with folks. This is really skill building and relationship building for us and being part of that national movement in terms of the resistance. So that's all we have, I think, for now. And we will be back again next week, probably remotely because Mandi will be in Baltimore, but
yes.
We'll have a lot to report back on. So thanks for watching.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.